This podcast shares Dadou's story. Dadou was a participant in a research project about the experiences of social exclusion and inclusion among people aging with neurodiversity and their families. Our project documented the stories of people aging with neurodiversity, 45 years of age and older, and their family caregivers about their lives, their experiences of growing older, their strengths, hopes, dreams, their housing realities, needs and wishes, their experiences with health and social services, and their social networks and supports. The objectives of the project were to foreground the voices of older people living with neurodiversity and their family caregivers, and advocate for more inclusive programs and policies that better address the realities of challenges facing and agency enacted by neurodiverse older people and their family caregivers. Thank you to Dadou for sharing her story with us. Dadou is a 73-year-old woman who grew up in Montreal with her parents, brother, sisters, and her gang, a group of close friends with whom she went out often. After high school, she took business classes and worked in accounting until she married in 1973 at the age of 23. Dadou's first child, A, arrived a year later, a little boy who changed the course of her life. Seeing that he wasn't walking at the age of 16 months, A's pediatrician referred the family to a neurologist who confirmed encephalopathy. The diagnosis was a difficult news for Dadou's husband. As for her, Dadou?
I just got on the wheel.
Dadou quickly became a regular at appointments, consulting many specialists in order to help her son improve his physical abilities. When A reached the age of 2, she also became an active member of a parent association, which began her path to activism for the rights of individuals with neurodiversity. 8 years after the birth of her son, her daughter Elle was born. Noticing that Elle was reaching developmental targets more quickly than her older brother, Dadou and her husband did not initially suspect a developmental delay. However, as the months passed, Elle's progress stopped increasing, causing concern for his parents, who then consulted a neurologist. At the first appointment, the neurologist did not offer a conclusive answer for the parents.
We'll see you in 6 months, he said. It was the worst 6 months of my life. The waiting is worse than knowing.
At the next appointment 6 months later, Dadou finally got a diagnosis for Elle. Upon hearing the diagnosis, Dadou was concerned.
You can't imagine what your life is going to be like.
With neurodiversity, less was known at the time. Dadou and her husband lived with uncertainty about the future. When, one after the other, the children reached school age, Dadou remained very involved in the lives of her children. Since A and L attended specialized schools, they had access to many professionals on site, thus avoiding travel. For a few years, the family also received support from a rehabilitation center, as well as home services a few times a week. However, the burden remained heavy on Dadou's shoulders given A's behavioral problems.
My son hurt me a lot in life.
While her husband sometimes intervened with the children when they were younger, Dadou shared that.
After that, when the problems got bigger, it was always me. He worked long hours, though maybe he was working a lot so he wouldn't have to live with the situation. I didn't dare to complain because I know he would have told me, just place them.
Despite the difficulties, the couple stayed together for almost 20 years until their divorce, which Dadou describes as peace.
I had one less to worry about.
While Dadou's ex-husband continued to contribute financially to the family until his death in 2018, she was the primary day-to-day support for her children. 2 years after divorce, Dadou returned to work and found a part-time job in food services at her children's school. She appreciated the flexibility of her schedule, which allowed her to take care of her children while working. She worked for 20 years, working first in the cafeterias of the school her children attended and then in other schools across Montreal. Over the years, Dadou faced challenges related to services and systems for her children. When her son's behavioral problems were deemed too severe for him to use cab service, Dadou took on the role of driver from the South Shore to Montreal every morning and evening until they moved to Montreal in 1987. She also found companions who could support her children and allow them to develop and grow through outings and activities. A and L also worked in various workshops after high school, work that A particularly enjoyed and that Dadou also appreciated. Dadou recalls interactions with various community employees who were impressed with the quantity of activities her children had access to.
She thought it was the resource that organized it. Ha! No, it's Dadou.
Dadou would have also liked to be able to go out once in a while.
We need to have a little break. We need to be able to breathe.
However, Dadou shared that her moments of rest are often marked by guilt.
I can go on vacation, but they can't. They are at home doing nothing. They're at home doing nothing.
Dadou's impressive involvement in the community started because of a lack of services for individuals with neurodiversity. After high school, A lost many aspects of the support system previously provided by his school. Unable to find respite services, summer camps, or babysitters, Dadou decided to place her son in a community residence. Soon after, the IDRC closed the majority of community residences. Of the 32 residences, only 9 remain, which became specialized assisted living residences. Dadou pointed out that this meant a step towards privatization, which was worrisome for her and the Parents Association. A is now in a specialized continuing care residence, where educators help him work on his behavior so that he can be placed in an intermediate resource. Once his goal was achieved, Dadou still had what she called a full-time job, whether it is managing unpredictable events or ensuring the quality of her son's life in a residence managed by, as she put it,
Mr. and Mrs. Everybody, who do not necessarily have the skills.
Faced with many recurring problems, particularly related to hygiene, Dadou noted,
They wouldn't do that for their own children.
when her daughter Elle moved to a supported residence shortly before COVID, Dadou's work continued. Dadou advocated, for example, for her daughter's nutritional needs to be adequately met and decorated her room, which she described as cold, neat, and dry.
There's always a way.
As well as being a parent, Dadou is involved in defending the rights of other users of her children's residential resources. Having been involved in user committees for many years, she advocates for the well-being of all individuals using these kind of services. She shows a lot of empathy for users who do not have a family, as well as
Parents who are not able to defend, who are afraid of being cut off from the services they have, or who are aging.
Dadou remains steadfast in the face of influential people who question the rights of people living with neurodiversity and their parents. When the priority is reducing waiting lists and not providing adequate services for users, Dadou does not hesitate to express her thoughts.
Problems happen when the people in charge are there for their jobs and not for the users.
Through her involvement, Dadou has met other members of the committees she is a part of, including other aging parents who are in a situation that's similar to her own. Dadou's family is also important to her. Dadou spends every other weekend at her sister's house and is now closer to her. Dadou also had a friend with whom she was very close.
She was aware of all my emotions and my things. We both had neurodiverse children and never felt sorry for our children either. Since her death a few years ago, I live my emotions, my things, alone a lot. But I'm rolling with it, and I say to myself, well, that's life.
Dadou leads a very busy life, where rare and precious are a few moments of rest. These days, She can only seem to find time for herself a few evenings a week. On these evenings, she does not usually seek to go out, but rather to find peace. For her, this often includes a quiet evening where she can hang at home with her cat and dog without being asked to do anything. A major concern for Dadou is aging.
The future is not rosy.
Dadou has uncertainties about Elle's future. While A's eventual guardian knows him very well and is already involved in his current life, Elle does not have someone as close to her who can take on this important role. Dadou is also an important emotional support for Elle, who battles with anxiety. Dadou expressed that she does not expect anyone else to be as involved in her children's lives as she is, but that it is important for the eventual guardian to be someone she trusts and who is close to her children.
Aging involves a lot of planning.
In addition to her will, Dadou writes down all her wishes for her children's future, ranging from the activities she would like them to pursue to the name of their hair salon.
There are so many pages. If I don't write it down the day I'm gone, she'll fall into the same pattern as the others.
Dadou relates to all the aging parents who also experience similar concerns.
We're in this. It's certain that we create a bond.
For now, Dadou plans to stay involved with her community for as long as possible. The well-being of her children and all other users is a major source of motivation for her. Dadou therefore plans to keep moving forward and continue to work on the issues that are important to her.
I have a passion, for sure.